Every day, you pass by people, talk to them, interact with them, maybe even share moments of laughter or deep conversation. They look human, they speak, they react. But something feels off. There's an emptiness behind their eyes, a mechanical way they move through life, repeating the same ideas without question, without hesitation, as if they're following a script. Maybe you've noticed it before. A chilling sense that some people aren't really thinking, just responding, like programmed machines rather than conscious beings. It's not paranoia. It's not just your imagination. Philosophers, scientists, and thinkers have wrestled with this concept for centuries. The idea that not all human beings experience the world with the same depth of awareness. Some exist in a state of autopilot, acting out learned behaviors, running loops of thought without introspection or self-reflection. They follow routines, obey social norms, and adopt popular opinions without ever questioning them. And if that's true, then what does that say about the reality you live in? More importantly, what does it say about you? Once you start noticing, you can't unseen it. Suddenly, the world looks different. The patterns become obvious. And by the time this is over, you might never look at people the same way again. Most of us assume that being conscious is a universal trait. That if someone talks, thinks, and makes decisions, they must be fully self-aware. But what if that's not the case? What if, instead, a significant portion of the population is simply reacting rather than thinking, absorbing rather than questioning? What if they are, in a way, running on autopilot? This isn't just some internet joke about NPCs, non-playable characters from video games who repeat the same scripted lines over and over. It's an idea that has been studied and debated for centuries. In ancient Greece, Plato warned of this very phenomenon in his allegory of the cave. He described prisoners chained inside a cave, watching shadows on the wall, believing them to be reality. They never turned around, never questioned what they were seeing, because the illusion was all they had ever known. Centuries later, the philosopher G.I. Gurdjieff took this idea even further. He argued that most people live in a state of waking sleep, moving through life unconsciously, never questioning their actions, never realizing that they are, as he put it, machines. Everything they do is automatic, preconditioned by their upbringing, their culture, their environment. They don't think independently. They simply act out their programming. Modern psychology backs up these ancient insights. Studies show that up to 95% of our daily decisions happen unconsciously, without deliberate thought. The brain operates on habit, running on learned behaviors rather than true decision-making. You might believe you're making a choice, but more often than not, your mind is simply following a script that was installed long before you ever had the chance to question it. This is why so many people never challenge their beliefs. They don't analyze what they hear, they simply accept it. They trust authority, repeat mainstream narratives, and follow societal norms without ever asking why. They don't dig deeper. They don't reflect, they just go along with the program, just like an NPC in a game. And here's the unsettling part: you've met these people before. You've spoken to them, debated with them, maybe even tried to shake them awake. But when faced with new ideas, their response is eerily predictable. It's as if they are following a script, regurgitating pre-packaged arguments, repeating the same phrases as though they were uploaded into their minds overnight. There's no critical thinking, no curiosity, no real engagement, just a defense of whatever beliefs were handed to them. So, if this is true, if so many people are simply running on unconscious programming, then how many are actually self-aware? How many are truly awake? The deeper you look, the more disturbing the picture becomes. Because if most people are merely reacting to their environment, then what happens when that environment is designed to keep them asleep? Think about the structure of society, the systems that govern our lives, the media, education, entertainment, politics. Do they encourage deep thought, or do they reinforce programmed behavior? Are people rewarded for thinking critically, or are they rewarded for following the script? The truth is, the world does not cultivate independent thought. It conditions people to obey, to conform, to repeat what they've been told. The more you blend in, the smoother your life runs. The more you question, the more resistance you face. And that leads us to the most unsettling question of all. What if some people aren't fully conscious at all? If someone looks human, speaks like a human, and reacts like a human, does that mean they experience life the way you do? Or is it possible that some people are simply running on biological scripts, mimicking emotions, responding to stimuli, but never truly thinking, never truly aware? This is not just a philosophical question. It's a question that has haunted scientists and researchers for years. One of the most influential modern thinkers, David Chalmers, introduced a terrifying concept, the idea of philosophical zombies, or P-zombies. These are beings that behave exactly like conscious humans. They laugh, they cry, they speak about their feelings, but inside there's nothing. No self-awareness, no inner experience, just a series of programmed reactions. Think about the implications. If P-zombies could theoretically exist, how would we know who is truly self-aware and who is just playing the part? You can't see someone else's consciousness. You can't measure subjective experience. The only thing you can do is assume, and that assumption might be wrong. Ever had a conversation with someone and felt like they weren't really there? That they weren't truly present? That they were just reciting lines, responding in ways that felt artificial? Have you noticed how some people never reflect on their past, never examine their own thoughts, never question the world around them? They just exist. They just go through the motions. If this was just a thought experiment, it would be disturbing enough. But here's where things get even darker. Science is beginning to confirm that some people may actually lack self-awareness in ways we never imagined. Neuroscientists have studied patients with split brain syndrome, cases where the two hemispheres of the brain are surgically separated. What they found was shocking. In some cases, the two halves of the brain seem to operate independently, forming separate thoughts, making different choices. One part of the brain could act without the other even realizing it. This suggests that self-awareness isn't as unified as we once thought. If a single person can have two conflicting minds within them, then how fragile is the very idea of personal identity? And then there's the even stranger revelation. Some people don't have an inner monologue at all. Studies have shown that a significant percentage of the population doesn't experience a constant stream of thoughts running through their head. No inner conversation, no self-reflection, just a series of impulses, reactions, and responses to their environment. Think about what that means. If someone doesn't engage in deep thought, are they truly conscious? Or are they just running a program? Because if true self-awareness is rare, if deep introspection is the exception, not the rule, then those who possess it live in a completely different reality from the masses. And that means the world you think you live in might not be what it seems at all. Science has spent decades trying to unravel the mysteries of human consciousness, and the more we learn, the stranger the picture becomes. Not all minds work the same way. Some people engage in deep, reflective thought, questioning their own beliefs, analyzing the world around them, and actively shaping their own perception of reality. Others, they move through life as if on rails, following predictable patterns, reacting instead of thinking, never once stopping to ask why. One of the most shocking discoveries in neuroscience is that a significant portion of the population lacks an internal monologue. You might assume that everyone experiences the world the way you do, processing thoughts in words, engaging in silent conversations with themselves, contemplating ideas before they speak. But studies have shown that for many, this simply isn't the case. Their thoughts don't form as words. There is no ongoing narrative in their minds. Instead, their decisions arise from immediate impulses, automatic reactions to their environment, with little to no internal reflection guiding them. If you've ever wondered why some people seem incapable of questioning their own beliefs, why they never pause to reconsider their assumptions, never engage in deep philosophical thought, never seem troubled by contradictions in their worldview, this might be why. They're not resisting deeper thought. They may not be capable of it in the same way you are. EEG brain scans reveal that not all brains engage in the same level of introspection. Researchers have measured the brain activity of individuals who engage in frequent self-reflection, comparing them to those who don't. The differences are staggering. Those who think deeply, who analyze their choices, deconstruct their beliefs, and engage in complex inner discussions, show significantly higher activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain responsible for higher-order thinking. But for others, that activity is weak or even absent. This suggests something far more unsettling than just a difference in personality. It suggests that some people are biologically wired to operate on a more automatic level. Not because they are unintelligent, but because their neural architecture does not require deep thought to function. They don't examine their reality. They don't even feel the need to. And this changes everything. Because if a large portion of the population is biologically predisposed to follow rather than think, then what does that mean for the world we live in? Who is really in control, the few who see through the illusion, or the many who blindly uphold it? The deeper you go, the more disturbing the realization becomes. Society isn't just filled with people who don't think critically. It is designed to create them. From the moment you are born, the system begins conditioning you to follow a path, to obey without questioning, to fit into a structure that was built long before you arrived. And the best way to ensure obedience: keep people asleep. The education system plays a key role in this programming. You aren't taught how to think, you are taught what to think. The curriculum doesn't train you to question reality, to analyze information for yourself, to challenge the system that governs your life. Instead, you are rewarded for compliance. The better you memorize, the higher your grade. The more obedient you are, the smoother your experience. The moment you step out of line, question the narrative, or challenge authority, the system reacts. You are punished, labeled difficult, treated as a problem that needs to be corrected. And this pattern extends far beyond school. The media serves the same function. It bombards you with information, not to enlighten you, but to shape your perception. It hands you opinions, ready-made, so you never have to form your own. It dictates what you should fear, what you should desire, who you should trust, and who you should hate. And just like in school, the moment you question it, you become the problem. Dissent is not tolerated, it is ridiculed, silenced, and crushed under the weight of the collective programming. The result? A population that believes it is thinking for itself while merely echoing the scripts given to them. A society filled with people who are convinced they are free while living within carefully controlled mental boundaries. But the most terrifying part, most people will never realize this. They can't. Because the system doesn't just control what they believe, it controls how they think. The moment an NPC is faced with information that contradicts their worldview, they don't analyze it. They don't consider it. They reject it outright, as if their programming has a built-in defense mechanism to protect itself. You've seen it happen. You've tried to explain something to someone, something backed by logic, facts, and evidence, only to be met with the same blank stare, the same canned response, the same refusal to engage. It's not that they're unwilling to think. It's that their minds aren't wired to question. And here's where things get even more unsettling. If this is true, if so many people operate on conditioned patterns rather than independent thought, then we have to ask a much darker question. Are they even real? Not biologically, of course. They exist, they breathe, they function. But are they conscious in the way you are? Do they experience reality in the same way? Or are they simply mimicking what it means to be human? Philosophers have wrestled with this idea for centuries, but in modern times, it has taken on a terrifying new form. The concept of a philosophical zombie suggests that there could be beings who behave exactly like humans, laughing, crying, engaging in conversation, but without true subjective experience, no internal world, no independent awareness, just programmed responses to stimuli. You've seen it before. You've watched as people move through their lives in predictable loops, never questioning, never deviating. You've heard them parrot the same phrases, express the same outrage at the same topics, engage in the same discussions with no original thought. The world functions like a machine, and they are merely cogs, turning in unison, keeping the system running without ever realizing they are part of it. And here's where things take an even darker turn. If the world does operate like a programmed system, then it would make sense that not every character within it is fully conscious. Just like in a video game, only certain players need to have complex thought. The rest can simply fill space. In video games, not every NPC is created with depth. Most exist to react, to respond, to create the illusion of a living world without actually being alive in the same way the player is. Now, look around you. How many people do you know who break the script? How many of them think beyond the boundaries of the system? How many seem to operate with independent thought, rather than simply reflecting the beliefs and behaviors of those around them? And how many don't? How many repeat what they're told, follow the trends, live in loops, and never once question why? This is the nature of the world we live in, and it raises the most disturbing question of all. If this reality was designed this way, if the majority of people were never meant to wake up, then what does that mean for you? Because if you are aware of this, if you can see the patterns, recognize the loops, and question the nature of the world itself, then you are already different. You are not like them, which means the real question is not about them, it's about you. Are you truly awake? Or are you just a more advanced version of the same script? Because the difference between an NPC and a real player isn't just in what they see. It's in what they do next. If you've made it this far, then something inside you already knows the truth. Something most people will never even begin to consider. The world isn't what it seems. People around you aren't all thinking in the way you assumed they were. And if that's true, if a significant portion of the population is operating on loops, running scripts, moving through life as biological machines rather than fully self-aware beings, then what does that say about the system itself? More importantly, what does it say about you? Because if most people are asleep, if they're simply following programming designed to keep them within the boundaries of the system, then those who wake up are something different, something dangerous. And that's why the system is designed to pull you back in. The moment you start breaking free, the moment you begin questioning the script, the entire structure of society works to drag you back into compliance. The distractions, the routines, the endless cycles of entertainment and outrage, they aren't just random noise. They're mechanisms of control. They keep your mind occupied, keep you from seeing too much, keep you from realizing that everything around you is designed to keep you asleep. Think about it. Have you ever wondered why the moment you step outside the mainstream narrative, you're met with resistance? Why questioning authority, challenging conventional wisdom, or refusing to accept the pre-packaged opinions handed to you results in immediate backlash? Why those who break the script are called crazy, conspiratorial, dangerous? It's because independent thought is a threat to the entire system. The world isn't built for people who think critically. It's built for those who obey, those who follow the script, those who never question their role in the grand design. And the few who do wake up, they become outliers, anomalies. They either break free or they get pulled back in. So what do? How do you escape the gravity of a system designed to keep you trapped? How do you ensure that you don't fall into the same predictable loops, repeating the same patterns, following the same conditioned responses as everyone else? It starts with detaching from the illusion. You have to understand that everything in this world, the education system, the media, the political narratives, even the structure of daily life, is built to keep you within a controlled framework. The moment you stop engaging with it blindly, the moment you start seeing it for what it is, you begin to break the hold it has over you. Look at how society functions. The endless news cycles designed to keep you in a state of fear and anxiety. The social validation systems built into every aspect of life, ensuring that people remain dependent on external approval rather than their own independent reasoning. The false choices given to you, left viz, right? This ideology vs that ideology, when in reality, the game is rigged at a much higher level. It's all a script, and the only way to escape it is to stop reacting the way they want you to. The system thrives on emotional reaction. It keeps people locked in cycles of anger, outrage, and distraction, because the more reactive you are, the less you think. It floods you with stimuli, bombards you with carefully crafted narratives, ensures that every moment of your life is consumed by something external, so that you never turn inward, never reflect, never realize that you're being played. Breaking free means reclaiming control over your own mind. It means unplugging from the programming. limiting your exposure to the endless noise, stepping back from the manufactured chaos, and choosing what you give your energy to. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. You are far more powerful than they've led you to believe. The reason the system is designed to keep you asleep is because those who wake up cannot be controlled. A conscious mind is unpredictable. It doesn't follow the script. It doesn't react the way it's supposed to. It thinks independently, moves intentionally, and sees through the illusion. That is what makes you dangerous, because once you start thinking for yourself, the game changes. You begin to see beyond the surface level distractions. You stop being manipulated by emotional triggers. You stop consuming mindlessly, chasing empty goals, following paths that were never meant to lead anywhere. Instead, you start creating. You take control of your own path. You question everything. You develop your own beliefs rather than absorbing those handed to you. You become the kind of person who cannot be easily swayed, who does not need validation, who does not live in reaction to the system, but instead moves with purpose beyond it. Most people will never do this. They will remain trapped in the loops, repeating the same conditioned patterns, convinced that they are free when in reality, they are only playing a role that was assigned to them. But you have already taken the first step. The mere fact that you are here, that you are thinking about these ideas, that you are questioning the nature of reality itself, means that you are different. It means that you can wake up, truly wake up, in a world designed to keep you asleep. But here's the real challenge. Awareness is not enough. Knowing the truth is meaningless if you don't act on it. The system thrives on those who believe they are awake, but still behave like everyone else. It wants you to know just enough to feel enlightened, but not enough to actually change anything. It wants you to be aware of the illusion while still playing along. So ask yourself, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Because the final choice is yours. Do you stay asleep, going through the motions, following the same cycles, reacting the way they want you to? Or do you break free, detach from the programming, and start living instead of just existing? Most people will never ask this question. Most people will never wake up. Most people were never meant to. But you were, and that changes everything.